A three-story cabin, one woman, and a hidden secret. No one understood why Eleanor Brooks built upward instead of outward. In the quiet valley where winters arrived early and stayed long, cabins were supposed to sprawl low and wide, hugging the earth for warmth. But Eleanor's cabin rose strangely tall, 3 narrow stories stacked like a stubborn belief. Neighbors slowed their wagons to stare. Some shook their heads. Others laughed softly, convinced grief had made the widow reckless. Eleanor heard the whispers, but she kept hammering, measuring, lifting, alone. She had learned long ago that when you lose everything, you stop building for approval and start building for survival. Eleanor had come to Pine Hollow after her husband, Samuel, died during a mining collapse 2 winters earlier. The town had offered condolences, casseroles, and then, slowly, distance. People didn't know what to say to a woman who chose to stay where pain lived. So Eleanor bought a small plot at the edge of the woods and began building the cabin herself. What no one knew was that the cabin wasn't just a home. It was a promise. The first floor was simple, a stove, a table, a chair by the window where morning light spilled in gently. The second floor held a narrow bed and shelves of worn books. But it was the third floor, and what lay beneath all 3, that mattered most. Beneath the floorboards, hidden carefully under layers of logs, straw, and stone, Eleanor had built something unusual, a deep, insulated chamber designed to trap warmth. A technique Samuel had once described to her late at night, tracing shapes on her palm as if sketching a future. "Heat wants to rise," he had said. "If you guide it right, it'll stay." When Samuel died, so did the plans they had made together. Or so everyone assumed. The first winter after the cabin was finished was brutal. Snow buried fences. The river froze solid. One by one, families retreated indoors, rationing firewood and hope. Eleanor, alone in her tall cabin, lit her stove and waited. When the cold settled in, something remarkable happened. Her cabin stayed warm. Not just warm, steady. The upper floors held heat like cupped hands, even as the wind screamed outside. Eleanor moved through her home without gloves, without fear. And slowly, quietly, the secret did what it was built to do. One night, there was a knock at her door. It was Mrs. Callahan from down the road, cheeks blue with cold, carrying a bundled infant. Her husband had fallen ill. Their stove had failed. Eleanor didn't hesitate. She opened the door wider and led them inside. "Stay," she said simply. Word spread, not about the heat, but about the kindness. Soon another family arrived. Then another. Eleanor made space where there shouldn't have been any. She laid blankets on the stairs, brewed soup from the last of her stores, and never once asked for anything in return. By midwinter, her 3-story cabin had become something else entirely. It was a refuge. People noticed how the warmth never seemed to fade, how the cabin held steady through storms that cracked windows elsewhere. They asked questions. Eleanor answered gently, never fully explaining. Some secrets, she believed, were meant to serve before they were shared. The unexpected turn came one bitter night when a blizzard trapped the valley completely. The main road disappeared. Fires failed. Panic set in. Eleanor opened her door again. This time, the crowd was larger. Faces she barely knew. Faces that once laughed. Faces that now looked at her with quiet desperation. She welcomed them all. That night, packed shoulder to shoulder in her narrow cabin, something shifted. The warmth below the floorboards did its work, but so did something else. Stories were shared. Hands were held. Old grudges softened. In the flicker of firelight, people remembered what it meant to depend on one another. At the height of the storm, when the wind howled loud enough to drown out thought, Eleanor stood at the center of the room and finally spoke the truth. "This cabin," she said, voice steady, "was never meant just for me." She told them about Samuel. About the design. About the hidden chamber built not just to trap heat, but to buy time. To keep people alive when winter forgot mercy. I built it because I couldn't save him, she said quietly. But maybe I could save someone else. Silence followed. Then tears. Then understanding. When spring finally came, Pine Hollow was changed. Neighbors helped each other rebuild. They asked Eleanor to teach them. She showed them the secret, not as a trick, but as a gift meant to be shared. Cabins were reinforced. Floors redesigned. Warmth spread through the valley in more ways than one. Eleanor never remarried. She never left. Her 3-story cabin remained at the edge of the woods, tall and unassuming, a quiet reminder that sometimes the strongest foundations are the ones no one sees. Years later, travelers passing through would ask about the strange cabin that saved a town. And someone would always say the same thing. It wasn't just the heat. It was the woman who let it out. Because in the end, the hidden secret wasn't beneath the floorboards at all. It was a heart that chose to turn loss into shelter, and kindness into something powerful enough to change everything.